during these 2 weeks as possible, this week and next week, I want to try to wrap up most of my introductions. Because this week and next week are the last time we can meet actually in here. And these are the last opportunities I have for interacting with you person to person. Of course, I can interact with you on a case-by-case basis, but here afterwards I'll be broadcasting on YouTube, and so my amount of interaction is limited. And so I want to try to get in as much as I possibly can. Hey, it's David. Hey, David. Welcome. Glad you're here. Yep. And it's Franco. Hi, Franco. Oh, excellent. All right. Now, regretfully, I have to put YouTube aside. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on top of the Houdini and UE4 scene that we were working on last time. After next week, we are not going to have Houdini lesson because that's Thanksgiving weekend, and I'll be in Nevada, hopefully not killing myself on a 1,000-foot cliff. But the following week, and all through my Christmas break, I will still have Houdini sessions, but not necessarily geared to not necessarily geared as introductory type stuff for you guys. Now, if you want, you guys are my priority. If you guys want me to cover some kind of introductory concept, tell me now, and I will create a curriculum for it. Because probably, but I'm going to need you. I want you to attend because probably over break, I'll probably go into more advanced topics, and then once we start school again in January, then we'll resume to more of the introductory stuff. But I'm going to be going based on what either you guys request, or you folks request, or what I think you guys need to see. Now, I've been focusing primarily on skills and fundamentals that you'll need to use Houdini in conjunction with UE4. Now, that certainly isn't the only pipeline and workflow. Last year and the year before, I had a lot of students who were really interested in procedural modeling and procedural world creation. Is that something that you folks are interested in? Or are you guys interested in other things? Okay. Starting in January, what we're going to do immediately for the first 1 or 2 weeks is go into something called, have any folks heard of vertex cache animation? It's a way of using any other software outside of your real-time engine. You create a simulation, and then you import that simulation into your game engine through some kind of external means, whether that be a JSON file, a texture map, or even just your own external text file. That's a great way, especially if you're a visual effects artist, of bringing in effects that a game engine can't create on its own. And that's a real important skill that I want you guys to go over. But it's not easy, and so that's why we didn't start off with it. But I think that by the time January rolls around, you should be able to handle it no problem. Now, are there any questions that anyone has about Houdini or any of all this stuff, or would like to make a suggestion on any particular topics? Simulations, okay. Yeah, it is kind of vague. What kind of simulations?
I don't really know exactly. I just know that there's different anti-colors and
Okay. Okay. When we go and this is what I'm talking about during the first couple weeks in January, we'll definitely cover an introduction to the simulations, because the simulations thing is really gargantuan.
Right.
Yeah, you could spend your entire career as a tech artist just dealing with that stuff. But I'll get some of the basics started. Really, simulations. Let me see if I can get this right here. Simulations kind of go for rigid body dynamics, destructions, soft body deformations, fluids, and then really you're talking about mists and vapors and volumes. Now, out of those, volumes is the hardest because you really can't do volumes in real-time engine at the moment. When UE5 comes out, everything you know will get dumped on its head. And the rendering model that I teach right now will be obsolete. And everything is going to go to rendering in volumes. And I don't really understand it myself, but I'm pretty sure how that's going to work. And so I'm going to do my best to instruct the tech artists the best that I can to get you used to the concept of rendering in volumes. But it really won't be until the summer that we'll start dealing with that. So we'll get your sims, or at least the introduction on your sims, and if you're interested in more depth concepts, after we play around with it, tell me what you're really interested in, and then I'll create some additional content for it. But other than the sims, any other kind of information? Like I said, does the procedural world building sound okay to people? Okay, because that's why it's something that I think that tech artists and artists Houdini folks can really use in order to create tools and digital assets to put inside engine that will expose controls for designers to go ahead and create procedural worlds. I think that's a real good, useful tool, and that's a big advantage that I see. But if there's anything else that you have heard of and are particularly interested in, I'll be glad to kind of indulge. Okay. Does everyone have the UE4 scene that we were working on last week?
No, I did not say it was off, but I have to populate them until I put it all back.
Okay, well, don't worry about it. We're not going to be interacting with any of the assets. We're just going to be adding to it, so it should be fine.
You want to check to get a separate model,
Yeah, I saved mine on HSL 116. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this.
Oh, I bet I did.
And I'm going to call this HSL 1113. Today's Friday the 13th, isn't it? How cool is that? Don't say. Okay. All right. Now we're going to start over with a lot of that. What we were doing when bringing in objects inside of Houdini, we had to realize that the collision information wasn't there. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction on how to create collision information, because there's a lot of control that you can do, and I think you're going to find it pretty neat. If you go to Houdini, and then within Houdini, go to File, Set Recent Projects, and choose your most recent project that we were working on. If you're just new and you haven't got a chance to actually, and you need to create a new project, go to File, go to New Project, and set the project path instead of $home. Well, actually, you can leave $home, that's fine. But that goes to your Documents folder. But give a new name, and we'll call this Collisions and Destructions. And then go ahead and click Accept. But if you already have go to your old project. I'd much rather keep your old stuff in the old project if you've already got it created. Does anyone have any problems finding their old project? Okay, Abigail, were you able to create a new project? I'm sorry? All right, cool. Okay, real simple. We're just going to do some real simple procedural modeling. So go ahead and drop down a geometry node inside of your network editor. And just call it tower. All right, go ahead and drop into tower. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay down just a grid. Okay. Now set the size of the grid to 1 by 1. So it's a little bitty guy. Oops. And set the rows and columns to 2 and 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a tower out of this grid. How are we going to do that? Well, have you ever seen like those top hats that when you press down out of them, they compress? We're going to do just the opposite. We're going to grab the top hat from the bottom and pull it up. So drop in a poly extrude node off of here. And then put the display on it. And set the distance to 5 units. Set the inset to 0.2 units. So it'll have a nice taper to it. And set the number of divisions to 6. So this is the tower that we're going to use to test out our collision geometry. Add a polywire SOP to this. A polywire does exactly what it is. Whatever the geometry is. Oh, I'm not sharing the Houdini display. Damn. Okay. Oh, I know what to do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Franco. Okay, I'm not sharing the Houdini display. So, for all those online, let me catch up real quick. My apologies. I got talking about something else and I got distracted. So thank you for bearing with me. So what we did, as a recap, we first created a geometry node and then dropped into the geometry node. We tossed down a grid. The grid is sized 1 by 1 and the rows and columns were 2 by 2. That produced us a simple grid. Then we tapped on a poly extrude to that, where we set the distance to 5, the inset to 0.2, and the divisions to 6. This created kind of like a pyramidal structure of 6 segments. And then we tapped in and created a polywire, which replaced all of the edges with polygonal lines. And what we have here is good, but notice here that the divisions is 4, and so each of the tubes itself is only 4 segments. Go ahead and move it up, and you'll see that the segments smooth out, and once you go, put it to 8 segments. And that gets to be a nice, smoother transition. I'm sorry?
I was moving my segments. I heard the word segments and I'm hyper-focused on that. Never mind.
No worries. Okay,
we're going to make sure that this is, well, two things. That we want to be able to build this and we want to be able to take a look at it. So we need to add two extra things. Does anyone remember what those two extra things that we have to include are? Well, the first is normals. You got to have normals. If you don't have normals, then UE4 just kind of went, just belches on it. So append a normal sub. And just leave it right as a default. So what that does is it creates normals. Does anyone in here want me to explain what normals are again? All right, cool. Normals are good. And just to be thorough, I want to add texture UV coordinates to everything. So I'm going to drag that off here and tag on a, what is it? UV texture. And I don't really care what kind of UV coordinates I put on here. I just want to put on some kind of texture coordinates. It doesn't really matter. And by the way, if you are ever curious of what your default parameterization looked like, there is a test geometry or test texture you could just slap onto anything. And just drag that off here and hit tab, and I think it's, let me see if I can remember what it is. Oh yeah, UV quick shade. If you go ahead and set the display on that, it shows you how the object has been parameterized. And right now we're looking at the gray color grid, and there's, I forgot where the location is, but if you want I can look for it. But there's like the Mandelbrot, the Mandel. There is the woman, I forgot what her name is. There's like a butterfly, and there's a colored grid that you can access to as well. Let's see, do we have access to that? Let's see. Hit, clips, bash.
I put mandrel on mine.
A mandrel?
Yeah.
You found it.
If you just click down in texture maps, mine has a bunch of them. Smurf is the least exciting though, because I was trying to put.
Oh, mandrel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there it is. You could put the monkey on it. But I'm going to leave mine at the default pick right now. But that's just for for visualization purposes, just to test your stuff. Okay, now let's go ahead and select all of the nodes in the network. And if you're feeling brave, you can go to Assets and New Digital Asset from Selection, but I'm not going to brave it because I'm not feeling very brave right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all these, click the subnet button right here in the upper right-hand corner. And what that does is encapsulated everything into a subnetwork. And I'm going to rename the subnetwork Collision Test. And just to show you that nothing has changed, let's drop into Collision Test. And you'll see there's our network in its undulating. Oh, since we're in here, let's go ahead and put in an output node. I'm going to go ahead and drop an output node in here just because I like to be thorough. Output, I'm going to set the display, and I'm going to hit C. And that's going to bring up my color swatch. I'm going to color it green. And I'm going to hit Z, and that'll bring my shape swatch. And I'm going to make it all star and fancy like. Okay, I'm going to return back up here to where it says Collision Test. Now, I'm going to right-click on Collision Test and choose Create Digital Asset. And then I'm going to just set my operator name to collision test. And okay, collision test, I'm going to capitalize T. And as far as save to library is concerned, I'm going to select everything west of OTLS, delete that, and type in $JOB, all caps, /HDA. And so what that's going to do is going to save it to our HDA folder within our project. Click accept. Oh, okay. I'm going to call this demo collision test. Yours probably worked. All right, click accept. What? You may not have files to edit this. You may not have permissions. Why not? Oh, I'm out of my project. Aha. I lost my project. So, if you can't save and you're using $job, that's a good sign. And that's a good sign that Houdini is actually helping you in this situation. That means you're out of the project. So I'm going to go back to my project. Set recent projects. Go check $job do it? No. Let's see, I know where it is. So set project. That is on my, oh, yeah, well, okay with that. Yeah, I guess so. D, check our EDU, Houdini secrets, basic build. Oh, that's my UE4. Look up beginning buildings, accept. And now I click accept. And there it goes. Now, when the type property windows comes up, go ahead and just click accept because we're not going to do anything with it. Okay, anyone having any problems getting that going? Yeah.
I'm not gonna go, but my tower is full of spikes.
Full of spikes.
I think you were gonna say spiders and not
Oh,
entirely
okay.
sure.
Not a problem. Just drop in.
More alarm.
Can I drop? Okay, we start with the grid. Okay, we're going to make the grid 2 by 2. And then we're going to extrude it. Everything's looking copacetic. Get the poly wire. And there you go. And just for shits and giggles, we're going to go over to assets. Save asset collision test. Okay, you're good to go.
Chris? Wasn't able to follow along earlier.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Do you think you can duplicate that again if you tried?
I could.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, the same situation here. Your grid needs to be just 2 by 2. 2 by 2. And that's a really big grid, so we're going to set this to 1 by 1. 1 by 1. Oh, that's bad. There we go. And then there's my poly extrude. Okay, distance 5. Inset 0.2. Division 6. Poly wire. Change that to, good boy, segment scales. Hey. All right. You are good to go, and this is already been saved, so we're going to save asset collision test. All right, great. So, the next thing we do is bop over onto UE4. Is everyone else okay? And I do have, if you don't have one already, go ahead and create a happy folder. H-A-P-I. And by the way, if you watch one of my broadcasts, you'll see Ivan DeWolf go on and on about how Side Effects has misnamed Houdini engine because it is not an engine. It is an API. And so H means HAPI is the Houdini API. So that's why I call it happy. Not because they, drop some acid and we're feeling one with the universe or anything. So I'm going to go and right click and I'm going to import into game, or if you can navigate from your file browser, go into that. And this is from Hez's stuff. I don't want Hez's stuff. But mine, I'm going to navigate to my project, HDA, and oh yeah, demo collision test. Here we go. Okay, is anyone having any troubles finding their digital asset? Were you able to find it, Abigail? So were you able to create a project? Here, let me see if I can help you. Oh, there it is. Go look in the HDA folder. Okay, it's not there. Okay, so manage drive for a second. This will tell me right where to go. Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha. It didn't get saved to your project. That's okay. So we're going to right click on here and go to your documents, go to Houdini 18, OTLS, and there it is. Okay, good. All right. Now go ahead and drag your tower, and I'm going to put mine right on top of the stairs.
Should we get rid of the two populate things that
No.
our lighting doesn't make?
Yeah, just leave them there.
Okay.
If you want to delete them, go for it.
That's having like 500 stairs in my scene is making the lighting bill big.
Well, maybe you ought to reduce the number of the objects in the scene. If you go to the Houdini populate, where it says number of instances, change that from maybe 200 down to about 20. That'll speed things up.
That's fair.
Yes, and you can keep the fire. I mean, the fire adds dramatic situation. So go ahead and go run into the tower. Oops. Oh, bugger. Okay. Oh, well, I seem to have lost connection with my player character. But can you guys all,
Stand right in the middle.
can you guys run into the tower?
Yeah.
Can you run through the tower? Yes.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, all right. Except for the fact that it's not supposed to run through the damn tower. The damn tower is supposed to stop you, right? Okay. There's an easy solution to that. Now we discussed one way of doing it was if you select your digital asset, the demo collision test. And now if you go over here to where it says collisions, and no, this is dumb. It's a Houdini generated static mesh settings of where it says collision complexity. You could change this to use simple collision as complex or use complex collision as simple. But don't do that. I mean, that will work. But what that's going to do is it's going to put some very expensive geometry in place and use that as your collision volume. But this is the tower. Does this collision tower really need super expensive collision geometry? Nah. It just needs little stuff. So leave that with the project default and go back to Houdini. Drop inside the collision test. And then add a group right before the normal. So add a group sub. Okay, now set the group name. Now this is important. Set it to collision underscore geo. Now this is really important. Set it to that. Go to assets, save asset, go to collision test. I'm going to change levels. I want to be like everybody else. I'm going to run through walls. Ugh. Okay, that will work. I'm going to go ahead and drop in my tower. Oh, I'm just not having a good day. Well, actually, did your tower disappear?
Yeah. Mine.
Yours didn't?
No.
What happens? Well, this is just not fair.
I can run into it and it stops me, but I can't see it.
Exactly. I'm going to try to see if I go do this again. Third person example.
Should I have not rebuilt mine?
No, you did it right.
Because I can.
Oh, I bet I'm in simulation. Am I in simulate? I am. Dopey me. No wonder. All right, I'm going to drop it. So yeah, here's the rub. If you go ahead and drop your tower into place, and if it already was there and you rebuilt the asset, the tower disappears, but it's stopping you from going through.
Must be a me, and it is not.
Okay, if it is not, then check your group name and make sure it's collision underscore geo. In fact, I'm going to get rid of mine because I can't find mine now. I'm going to just get rid of that collision geo name. Go to assets, save collision test, and we'll go into UE4. And this demo collision test, I'm going to go ahead and then click on the rebuild asset. Oh, no wonder it didn't collide. It's in the wall. Jeez.
Oh, something else invisible. I made the wrong thing, collision test.
Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go back and change this to collision geo. Oops, I don't want to use that cap. The spelling in the case is really important. The asset, save asset. I'm going to go back to my UE4 level. I'm going to rebuild my asset. and it disappears. But when I try to run into it, it stops me. Okay, is anyone not getting that behavior? You getting yours, Abigail?
Yep.
All right, how about you, Ashley?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So here's the rub. Collision geo is a special name to tag your geometry such that UE4 uses that geometry as collision geometry, but it doesn't render. So it's kind of like free material. It's like it's geometry, but it doesn't deal with it. But there's a problem. Can anyone identify that problem?
You want to be able to see the town?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you want to see the damn tower. But how do we make it so that we can see the tower? What we could do is, for the group, put rendered, what's the name? Yes, rendered collision geometry, so rendered. Now if we go ahead, click Assets, Save Asset, Collision Test. Then go into our level,
Ta-da!
click the Rebuild Assets.
Wow.
It comes back, and boom, it stops. Okay, yeah, there's still another problem. Can anyone identify what that problem is? Okay, do you think that as far as the rigid body dynamics and the collision solver is concerned, that this geometry is an ideal source of geometry? No, it's not good geometry. But it does the job. So what could we possibly do? Well, what we could do is right after the poly extrude, drag a node off there, and just so that you know what it is, click, attach a null to it. A null does nothing, but in this case, for me, it acts as a visual anchor point. So now I'm looking at a strand down Houdini that is got all the nice detail and geometry, but here is a inner workings of it that's nice and simple. And in fact, what I want to do is even broader than that. I want to just draw that input for the null based onto the grid. And then I want to create a duplicate of this poly extrude node. So I'm going to hit the Alt key and then drag the poly extrude underneath and then attach my poly extrude to my null and then turn on the display. So we should see just about the exact same thing. But we can make it easier and simpler yet because the number of divisions is 6. We could just set the number of divisions at 2. No, we could set it to 1. Ooh. Now we've got some really lean geometry. So, and we have to make this. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my group sop here, and like a mad dog, I'm just going to rip the dickens out of it. Got it out. I love doing that. And then I'm going to put that group underneath the poly extrude, and where it says rendered collision geo, I'm just going to make it collision geo. And then I'm going to combine it with my beautiful sexy tower. I'm just going to drag that off here on a tab and hit merge. And then drag a merge from the to the UV texture, and then from my output comes with a merge. So in Houdini, this is what I see, is all of this gobbledygook. I know that there's a warning on the merge, but you can ignore the warning. Click on Assets, Save Assets, and Collision Test. Now go back into UE4. On your demo collision, say Rebuild Asset. Now if you hit play, you get full collision, but at a paltry bit of cost. Okay, so that's a way that you can modify your data. And so if you're going to bring it over into UE4, this is a way of making collision geometry very, very cheaply, because your collision geometry just does not have to correspond to actually what the geometry really is. Now, if you go to, let's see if I can go to, let's see if this helps. API reference? Oh, this is the Houdini. Let's go back to Houdini, go to help, and let's see if contents is here. Let me see if you can get to it from here. I'm going to type in Houdini engine. Oh, that's game engine. No. Is that here? Alas, I don't think it is. So I'm going to pull up a web browser. I'm going to go to the side effects website. And then I'm going to go to support documentation. And now here's lots of cool stuff here. There's the standard Houdini documentation. There's documentation for running the HQ. So actually we have a render farm, and if you wanted to run Houdini parallel on the render farm, you can do it, but you'll need to go into this HQ documentation. The HDK is the API documentation. So you can go ahead and crack out your Visual Studio and go ahead and program your own SOPs and your own dynamics and your own things using the HDK. It's really anything that you can. Houdini is like UE4. Anything that you see is accessible to you. So you could go in and create your own content and even create your own customized version of Houdini devoted right to your project. But what I'm looking for is the Unreal plugin documentation, and choose the version. I think you guys are working from Unreal plugin 18, or choose 18.5 if you've got it. Go away. California. Yeah, it's Chinese. Has anyone got harassed by Chinese marketers?
I don't answer, I'm not.
You gotta get money.
Okay, so we've got this thing up here. So open the little selection where it says collisions. Okay, there it shows all of the collision types that you can choose from. Now, if you set it, if you set like collision geo, it talks all about how the collision gets created automatically, but it uses the current geometry as the collision geometry. And you have to put rendered collision geometry if it does that. Now, if you want UE4 to come up with a convex solution for collision volumes, you can tell it to. You could say like collision geo underscore UCX. And then UE4 will create its own collision volume for you. Or it'll create a simple collision volume, which is nothing but a capsule, or maybe even a sphere. Or you can add extra information like look under, it says rendered collision geo simple KDOP 18, and it'll put an 18-sided dice over it. I don't know what an 18-sided dice looks like, but that's what it does.
What would you even do with 18-sided dice?
Well, obviously you roll for damage of a
That's a
+1
D20.
sword or something.
D20s, man, that's damage and initiative.
D&D thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, there's no D18.
There's no D18. Well, okay, there's a D26 in there as well. All right, if you go all the way down to the bottom, here are the naming conventions. So here's what the naming conventions of all that stands for, and it's actually documented. So it's there, but I wanted to show you where it is. So in case you ever wanted to deal with the collision or had collision issues with your Houdini and UE4 objects, then this is the place to look. Okay? Any questions? Okay, let's go ahead and save this file. Save as, I'm going to call it Collision Tower. I'm going to save it to my job if I can. If you're not working from a project, that's fine. Just save it someplace where you'll remember. So Collision Tower. All right. Now, Ashley said she wanted some dynamics. I'll give you some dynamics. All right, go ahead and create a new file. Go to File, New. This is really simple, and it just goes to show you how simple Houdini Dynamics is like Go. Moments to learn, a lifetime to master. And you'll see why in a minute. So go ahead and drop in a geometry node. Now call this one Wall. And drop into Wall. Now drop in a box sock. Now in this box sock, make its size 0.5 in X, 4 in Y, and 8 in Z. You should end up with something like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to position the wall so that it's always growing from the base. Does anyone remember how to do that? You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Is it like 0.5 times Y size?
Yeah, exactly. But more definedly, it's 0.5 times CH, which stands for channel, Y size. CH and its size, Y. Excellent. Very good. So have you used, so Tyler, have you used Houdini to create any mechs yet?
No, I wish.
You know, that's the go-to software that they use like at ILM. You know, transformers and all that?
Yeah.
All right.
I gotta get more used to actually using it first.
Ah.
But then maybe.
I see. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, hit U, go back up to the object level. So now we're just looking at the wall. Now, what we're going to do is, okay, I don't know where it is on this menu, but I'm going to go back to what you guys are working with. So you're looking at something like this. And then, let's see. Oh, I think collision. Oh, no. What we want to do is we want to go over to where it says deform. Is it deform? No, model. Go to the model menu, and we're going to choose the shatter. There's a little operation. It's a macro. Click shatter, and if it works, your object got Voronoi, and you dropped into SOP level automatically. and you should see something like this. Is there anyone who doesn't see something like this? You got it? You don't have it?
No, my wall doesn't look like that.
Your wall doesn't look like that. Okay, let's go check it out. Oh, okay. Well, let's try it again. Okay, go to model. I'll select this. Shatter. Huh. Box. Inside or outside? Pieces. Oh, that is so strange. There's nothing here. Well, that is so strange. I have never seen a SOP fail like this. That is so amazing. Okay, I'm going to do something really weird for you. I don't know what, I don't have time to debug this right now. This is not your fault. So, I'm going to do something really quick for you. Okay, for some reason, Emmanuel's Voronoi fracture SOP doesn't work. I'm going to tell you about Voronoi fraction real quick. But I'm going to solve Emmanuel's problem real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on this. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is see where it says chunk centers. Is anyone else having problems getting this up? So where it says chunk centers, where it says force total count, change that to 100. And it just changed the number of chunks that the geometry was broken up into 100 chunks. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and explain this in just a minute. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Emmanuel this piece of geometry. And we can do that real quick. I'm going to right-click the Voronoi fraction node. And then where it says Save, I'm going to go Save Geometry. And then I'm going to put it out as, I'm going to click on the file location. I'm going to go to Job, Geo. There's nothing in here. So I'm going to call this Untitled Geometry. I'm going to call this Fracture. .bgeo. I'm going to click Accept. Here, Job, Geo, Fracture. Accept. Okay, now what I'm going to do is on Teams, I'm going to go to that spot. And there's my fracture geo. and then I'm going to contact Emmanuel. And I'm going to send you the fractured geo. Okay, I'm going to send that to you. Okay, did you get it?
I got it.
Save it to your folder, or save it to your project someplace, and I'll show you how to bring it in. Okay, tell me when you have it saved to your folder. Got it in yet?
No, I'm still not that far.
Is it not downloading?
Yeah, it's almost done.
Oh, it's almost done. Okay,
It's fine, yeah, we can go back to this later.
okay, yeah, download it and then save it. Okay, for everyone else, this is important. And I want to show you what happens there. And if you want, I can go into this a little bit more important. Remember how I said that everything is turning into volumes? And then everything is going to be about volume rendering in the future? Well, Houdini's been ahead of the curve for about 10 years. Okay, so if we put on the display on box, we see the box. And then where it says ISO offset, click that. What you see is now a volumetric representation of the box. Now, boxes are one thing. If you put any geometry into this SOP, it will turn it into a volume. Now, the volume is stored in, if you click on the information on that, you'll see that's just stored as one point and one primitive and one vertex. But it also is stored as 2,500 voxels. Okay, this is how geometry is going to be stored in the near future. Gone are the days of polygons. But it's going to take a while for this transition to happen. And so what we did was we turned the, like I said, any kind of geometry can get turned into a volume like this. And then what we're going to do, what we did over here, where it says chunk centers, we click that. What it did was it just took that volume and then scattered 100 points within that volume. And then what we're going to do is then use those points and then say, okay, box, I'm going to give you to this Voronoi fracture. Now, does anybody know what the Voronoi functionality is?
I mean, it's a type of noise. I used it for shader once, but yeah, mix it with water.
Okay. Voronoi is a way of breaking up abstract concepts in such a way that if you're given a bunch of points, what it will do is it will create geometry around that point such that if you have the perpendiculars connecting all these objects, it will create geometry. Let me see if this is the color. Point here. It will create geometry such that these perpendicular lines that get created are always halfway in between its corresponding vertices. So for this vertical line here, it's halfway in between this line and this line. This line here is halfway between this point and this point. This line is halfway between this point and this point, and this one is halfway between this point and this point, always. And so what we now have is geometry that's been fractured into this. So this object has now been fractured into this and is used the points as indications on where to put all of that. So this is a very important. If you become a tech artist and you go into lighting and shading and so forth, or into procedural modeling, this is your bread and butter. In fact, if somebody's still looking for a project for the tech art end of semester project, my challenge to you is implement a simple Voronoi decomposition algorithm on a 2D structure. It's a good project.
Does that have a like special use? Like you can just like connect the points as well, and that would also give you a fractal geometry. Like why would it?
Yes, it will, but it won't be like this.
Yeah, I mean, so that's my question. Like
It won't have these properties. And what this is really, really good for is creating dragon scales and fish scales and other scale-like things. That's why they use it for noise. And that's why you hear Voronoi noise. They use it to create regulated geometry that isn't biased towards any particular points. It's separated. It's always keeping distance between certain points.
Looks good in the swimming pool too.
Yes, 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 absolutely. And so this is a very, very important algorithm that if you go into visual effects or procedural modeling and so forth, you're going to see this for the rest of your life. It's one of those essential algorithms. Okay, and Emmanuel, did you get it downloaded yet?
Yes, it's not showing up.
Well,
Yeah, like it's in the file already.
did you use a file? Okay, go, before I'm telling you, go and choose a file. Oops. Go and add a file, SOP. And did you, and then in the geometry file, navigate to where your fracture BGeo is stored. Click accept, and there's your object.
Like on the file.
Okay, where's this from? How'd you navigate? Oh, here, actually, here. There it is. Click here. Control C. Control V. Oh, I did. No. There it is. There you go. All right. Now make sure the display is set. Now, I wish Alex had gone for a pee break here. I'm gonna have to wait for her to get back. But does anyone have any questions about just what happened here? We can chop this up into any number of points, and actually, this actually chopped up volumes. And so that not only oh, here's something that's interesting. If you really want to see what this looks like, there's I think there's a node in here. Let me see if it's is there called fracture, edge fracture? Is it tet fracture? There's a test that we can. Edge fracture, Boolean fracture. Is it tet fracture? No, tet fracture. Are any of you folks Vietnamese? No. Okay. I have no idea what tet fracture is. Well, what is it? Is there fracture? There is a operation in here that will allow us to explode the geometry and take a look at it. Where is it? Oh, jeez, Louise. That's not it. Okay, if bonus points for anyone who could find out where it is. I can't remember. All right. But anyway, there is a SOP that we can use to expose this. But anyway, make sure that the Voronoi fracture has got the display on it. And if your name is Emmanuel, then your file 1 SOP is selected. Okay? Go back up to the object level. Okay, everyone back up to the object level where it says say wall. Oh, okay, I don't need this. Go this way. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now put your cursor inside of there, and now hit the C key and go to effects, and then choose effects, then rigid bodies. And then from rigid bodies, choose RBD glued objects. Select the object for RBD glue objects. So what I'll say, go ahead and then put your cursor over the wall, click it, and then hit enter. And so now what you should see is nothing. Or you should see the wall. But this little thing, say auto dop network.
Can you render it one more time?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so wall is there.
Yes.
So I'm gonna hit C, and that'll give us well, hell, this is confusing. All right, damn it. Let's go to build, and if you look under collisions, no. What is it? Effects. Oh yeah, rigid body dynamics. Oh yeah, there should be a folder that says Rigi. That's short for rigid body dynamics. Click on the RBD glued objects. And then it says, right here at the bottom, says select objects for RBD glue objects. Put your cursor over there. Click on the wall, and then hit enter. Okay, and so what that does is it transports you, and you look at the wall, and suddenly the wall is no there, because we're no longer in the wall object. What we are is we are in the auto-dop network.
Mine is angry at me, sorry.
Okay, so let's get
It
you
will
going.
let me select the geometry?
Well, okay, what you got to do is, am I drop?
Yep, please.
Because you're not in selection mode, you're in selection mode. And then go ahead and say RBD glued object. Select on. Okay.
I'm not totally
No. Just in a weird state.
Which is also the story now.
We're gonna have to work on that. But ask yourself, how is that state helping you right now? Well, that's what those are for. Okay, so we'll get you going. No, it keeps on going to here, which is your object selection mode. It's not allowing me to select your object. I can't pick up any kind of object here. Huh, interesting. Somehow you've gotten Houdini into a state that you can't accept anything. I don't know what you did. Well, follow along the best that you can. Here, I'll have to look at it later. I'm not sure how you get this out. I don't know what you did.
Me neither. That's
Wow.
exciting.
That's beyond it. Because I can't even select it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going into select mode, and I can't even select anything.
Yeah.
I'm going into here, and I just can't select anything. See, it won't even select. So you've done something. Okay. In fact, let's, when in doubt, power out. Okay, let's try with Houdini again. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and explore. So what should have happened if you created it automatically called this auto-dop network? Okay, here is the guts of Houdini's simulation engine. It's a bunch of stuff, but what you see here is, first of all, you have this thing that says rigid body solver. This is a object that depending on the inputs, it does a rigid body simulation depending on the forces thereon. And there are constraints and other things on here, and this is a constraint network. So if you're familiar with how rigid body dynamic engines work, what it does is that it takes all the forces that are combined in a system, combines them together, and then looks at all of the geometry that it's given, and then it applies constraints to them, and then actually solves for the velocities of every one of the individual pieces in that system. And that's what happens, and it comes to here. But right now, it's not doing anything. And if we were to go up and then just hit play, your thing probably falls right through the screen. Yeah, it's anticlimactic. So what do we got to do? Let's put a floor there, dang it. So if you go over to, let's go under collisions, just drop down a ground plane. So there's a little dot here that says ground plane, an icon right here. It looks like a golf ball on top of it. Just go and click that. And now there's a terrain on there. Now make sure that your frame counter is back to 1. Now hit play again. Then nothing happens. Okay, that's cool. You know what that tells me? It's working. Why did it work? Because if we drop into the into the auto-dop network, there is a node in here that controls that behavior, and it's called glue constraint. So if you click on the node that says glue constraint, there's a parameter in there called strength. So where it says 100, change that to something else. Something like, where it says 10,000, change it to like 100. Now set the playback back to 0, and then hit the play. And you have collisions. And you have a simulation. A very simple simulation. So what did I say about simple? Seconds to learn, a lifetime to master. Now to understand what all these nodes are, and to all these static solvers and these constraints and these ground planes and these rigid body solvers, and you get into that and go into grains, you get into different solvers and bullet solvers. It's a non-petite endeavor. But if it's something that you are really interested in, you could easily spend your entire career doing nothing but these. This is very high demand right now. Okay, is everyone's falling apart? Is anyone's not falling apart? Okay, go ahead and save this. File, save as, and I'm going to change this to wall destruction. All right, cool. Everyone save everything? Okay, have we done anything with Houdini Labs yet in this class? Not ringing any bells? Okay. Then, in that case, please, in one of these folders here, where it says plus, either this plus or this plus, click on one of those pluses, and where it says shelves, navigate to the right, And, oh, look at that, there's the Abigail shelf, there's the Alex shelf, and the Ashley shelf, wow! I bet there's an Emmanuel shelf, woo! And there's a Kelsey shelf, of course. You guys don't have that, though. Scroll down to where it says Side Effects Labs, and then make sure it's clicked. And so you should see something that at least that looks like an old Atari joystick. Go ahead and click on that Atari joystick, and you should get a little thing to pop up. What we're going to do now is we're going to contact Side Effects and say, hey, Side Effects, give us your most up-to-date tools. And just click up, change the release. Change it to, I'm going to change it to 18.5 by 342 rather than 351 embedded. Click update.
So you can't change it?
Oh, you can.
It's not giving
No,
me
it's,
an option.
Oh, it's not letting you?
I mean, I still have to update.
Okay, well then, just go ahead and click update or install if that's what you have. I've already installed it on mine. So what does yours say? Oh, production builds, yeah. Oh, 395. Woo. Okay, there is a small group of really talented tech artists who do nothing but invent mad tools. And they get put into the Side Effects Lab. Do you guys know who Luis Cruel is? Okay, he's a fellow that, former UCF student. We get him to come over as one of our panelists all the time. He used to be the principal artist for this team. He just left, went over to Epic. Or, I'm sorry, Rockstar. I don't know why. But needless to say, if we're lucky, we'll get him to be one of the panelists. He wrote most of the tools here. So if you click up to date or install, it will download all the stuff for you. And it says, update successful. Please restart Houdini. Yes. Go ahead, close down Houdini, and then open her up again. Okay, where is my shell? There it is. Now what you're going to do is go through that same process again of going into your project if you have it, or just go into open recent files and choose wall destruction, and then discard and open. Okay, now let's go ahead and see if we can find those darn Side Effects Labs tools. They're kind of hidden. If we move this over, there it is. It's right at the end there. So if you move this little slider back and forth, you can find this, and it says Side Effects Labs. And now you've got a whole bunch of tools. If we didn't have it there, that's fine. And we're going to be spending a lot of time in the new year with the VAT. But today we're just going to go RBD to FBX. But before that, okay, click that. And what that did, it did something nutty here. Let me show you what it did. If you have the thing that says RBD to FBX, hit the U key. Well, okay. Okay, this transported you to someplace strange. And in order to avoid confusion in the future, Okay, remember how the top node, especially for all you tech artists, is what? /obj, right? Well, /obj is not the only top node. There are other top nodes. And right now we're in the output top node, /out. If we, okay, see this little thing that looks like a reel here? If you click that icon and drag down, you can go back to obj if you want. And there you're back into the obj top node. Okay, this is the reason why in TechArt you always have to set this top node to /obj, because this defines where the top of the chain is. But we're going to stay here we're going to click obj and then move it back to out. So we're in the output network now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tell it which node to export. And so we're going to click on the little plus dealio here. And then we're going to navigate it not to, I don't know if you can see this, it's awful small, but where it says plus obj, click on the plus, and then click wall. And then click accept. Okay. Now, for the export path, I'm just going to, everything from .fbx to the left, I'm just going to get rid of. And I'm going to put $job, unless you're not working from a project, that is. But we'll just see what happens here. /job/ say export /wall destruction .fbx. Okay, this is the node to export, and this is the path. And then we have our start frame and our end frame, which by default is 1 to 300. Now we're going to have to do one more thing, and where it says uniform scale, where it says 1, push that to 100. Now here is a chronic problem between Houdini and UE4 that up to this point has been transparent to you. Does anybody know why we have to scale up to 100 times?
Is it like a sideways thing?
Yeah, exactly. Houdini's units are in meters. UE4 units are in centimeters. So if you do 1 unit here, in Houdini is 1 meter, is 1 unit, which is itty bitty in UE4. So therefore, we have to make this 100 times bigger in order to look the same in UE4. Now go ahead and click Render. And it's going to plug and chug for a little bit. So it's creating an FBX for the whole simulation. And I'll explain this in a little bit. Okay. Did everyone get theirs exported? You can test this by going to your project location or wherever your stuff is located. If you look under where we say export, and it should be, there's wall destruction.fbx. Now, for those of you not working in a project where you were able to find it, were you able to find it, Abigail?
Yeah.
What about you, Emmanuel?
No, I haven't found it.
You found it?
No.
wall destruction from that, please. In fact, let's just set this to users, Tarot, documents, put it right in your documents folder, Dan. Type in wall destruction.fbx. Yeah, perfect. Okay. See, it's here. Documents, wall destruction.fbx. Perfect. Okay, now let's go into UE4. And we are not going to go into the happy folder. Create a folder called import. Now, go ahead and right-click and import the game folder. Now navigate to where your FBX is stored. Hit it select, click open, and you should get the typical FBX import thing that we've seen probably a zillion times by now. Is anyone having troubles finding theirs? Did you find yours, Manuel?
It says a skeleton right there.
Yes.
Skeleton here.
Yes. Okay, make sure that skeleton mesh is selected. Make sure that import mesh is selected.
No, but there it shows no skeleton that says wall destruction skeleton.
Oh, I'm sorry?
It doesn't say wall destruction skeleton in front of the skeleton option.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just his name. Yeah.
Mine's empty also.
Well, shoot.
I think it's based on the fact that it might already exist in this folder because you're using the underscore one there.
Oh, well, let's see if that's wrong. Well, golly, let's see. Cancel. Import. Wall destruction. Yeah, there it is. Huh. Let me see what you have. Wait, it's a skeleton mesh.
No, here.
Oh, don't worry about that. It's just an icon. But you've got it. And you guys don't have it. Oh, you just don't see the icon.
Well, no, but there's also something populated.
Oh yeah, that's because I've already preloaded mine in, and I have to make mine none. Just look, yours.
Okay.
That's my bad. I thought you guys didn't have anything. So mine should look like this, just like your guys's. Okay, so make sure that the animation is so make sure where it says animation, click on animation. And make sure that import meshes in bones is selected. Okay, you have to expand the menu. Yeah.
I'm a little slow right back there.
No worries. Now expand the menu under mesh and make sure that set normal import method, which is right here. Make sure it's set for normals and tangents. And once you've got all that, click import. Okay, 3 objects should be created. You should get, well, actually 4 objects should be created. Did anyone not get those 4 objects? Yours didn't?
Issue with the export.
I'm sorry?
I think I might have an issue with export.
Okay. 1 to 240, export, oh, you're not working from a project, are you? So you weren't able to find that where the file is?
No.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna navigate. I'm just gonna go to your C folder. Users, I'm gonna put it right here, right here. Type in walldestruction.fbx. No, FBX. Say .fbx. Okay, now click render.
That was the button I didn't click for.
Oh, what's wrong? No geometry found. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, navigate, click on that little plus thing, and go to OBJ, hit the plus, and click wall. Say accept, and now hit render. Okay, now go to UE4. And go to C. And go to users. And it should be somewhere in there. Wall destruction. Yeah. There you go. And did you already set those parameters? No, you probably didn't. Let's see. Go ahead and make sure that click on import animations, and then expand that. And turn on import meshes and bones. Correct. Okay, now go back up to meshes. Expand that menu, and go to normal import method. No, I don't have to go it. And set that to normals and tangents. Okay, and click import all. And it should create 4 objects. Yeah. All right, anyone else not able to bring those 4 objects? Okay, did you get it going, Nitin? All right. Whew. All right. Now, actually, we're in familiar territory that you guys should be familiar with. So where it just says wall destruction, not anim, not the physics asset, not the skeleton. Grab the wall destruction and just drop it into your level. Okay? Everyone got it dropped in? Now what we're going to do is for that object we just dropped in, where it says animation, change the animation mode from animation blueprint to use animation asset. And then click anim to play, say none, choose that and choose wall destruction anim. Okay, what left to do? Just hit the play. Okay, now is this anyone's simulation not playing? Okay, now this is a really cool concept here. Now I told you that in the new year we're going to learn all about vertex animation caching and so forth. This is not vertex animation caching. This is another visual effects simulation technique, which is really, 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 really cool actually. But it has its limitations. Can anyone tell me how they think that this is working? Kelsey, how is this working?
Kind of like a state machine.
Kind of like a state machine.
Like basically basically the UE4 is reading through the animation that the keys are technically in there. So it's reading through that and basically reading it through.
So, your favorite thing to do is rig dogs, right?
It's like reading it.
Oh, anything! Really? Anything?
I've mostly rigged characters, so I haven't rigged props before, but
Wow!
I spend most of my time rigging a dog.
Escape out of this and double click wall destruction. We'll take a look at this wall destruction object that we just imported. And if we look at the mesh, what we see here is there are 100 pieces in here. So, Kelsey, does this give you a hint on how it's created?
Basically, there's a bunch of joints in all those little pieces.
Yep. So, click on where it says skeleton. And we can't see it, but actually, if you go into show, oh, I'm sorry, character, yeah. Character, go to bones, all hierarchy. Click that. And now hit play. Oh, where is it? Animation? Oh, there it is. So, what somebody wrote a script that when you hit export, it created a joint at the center of the object, and then for every single object in there, it found the center of that object, it created a joint from that base to that object, and then it tracked the position and the rotation of that object, and it all baked it into an output animation. So there you go. There's rigging done to the extreme nutso case. But it doesn't match. Can anyone think of why it doesn't match? It does match, actually, but you have to look at it for a while to understand it. Look at the pieces that are moving around here. What are they doing?
This looks like chaos.
Oh, it's, but
Well,
it's,
mine looks like it's attached to pieces. Yours is just like a spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, is yours playing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
but it's got like a nice little, like it does look like it's attached to all the pieces.
Oh, well, golly. Okay, well then, my thing is broken then. Is this something, I mean, does yours look all orderly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well mine doesn't look like that. Okay, so, okay, I was gonna say something, but I'm glad you said something, because otherwise I'm wrong.
That's what I wonder, like, is mine the only one that
No,
looks like
I'm smoking crack. Okay,
It's not
the
even
end
funny.
joint tracks the position of every particle or every object in the scene. That final joint, it adds rotations in there to track the orientation of that individual object. So this then becomes a skeletal mesh object that can be played at any time. Really, really handy. Now this is not okay, can anyone guess what the limitation of this technique is?
I mean, it's not interactive at all.
That's a big problem, absolutely. But there's something else.
They're also limited by how many joints it can handle.
Exactly. There's a limitation. What if you had a bridge destroyed, like bridge over the River Kwai, and it blasts not into 100 pieces, but 2,000 pieces? It couldn't handle it.
No.
That's when we have to use vertex animation. And we'll show how to do that next semester. Okay, cool stuff here, gang. Any questions? Okay, I didn't get as far as I wanted to today, but that's okay. Hopefully we learned a lot of really cool stuff. And you can start using this in your capstone operation. You can see there, if you watch the capstone reels that go over right here, there's the long arm of the law. There's a scene in there where there's a bridge, and then suddenly the bridge collapses. The tech artist who was working on it saw this and said, "Ooh, I know where this is going." Very handy. All right, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Next week, we're going to go into procedural terrain creation, and which is actually really cool because we're going to go ahead and sculpt some really awesome looking terrain inside of Houdini, and then we're going to move it to create it at an instant level inside UE4. Really cool stuff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it all. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close off this broadcast. So for those of you at home, thank you for joining us. Don't forget there is a Houdini users meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. Contact me if you want to attend, or go to the Orlando Houdini users group meeting on Meetups, and then follow the link and it will show you how to get to the website. And tonight, Emma Condi, cohort 16, will be giving a presentation on the Houdini UE4 USD interface. And if you don't know what USD is, you will learn soon, because it's once again going to be shaping how we do computer graphics in the future, and it's going to replace FBX as we know it. Okay, very cool. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you all again next week for Houdini Secrets. All right. Thank you very much.